Morning everybody. Right, I'm off to Reading today. It's another one of those trips that you just wouldn't do if you didn't have an electric car. And basically, I'm driving 100 miles each way to do some electric skateboarding and see a man about some charging cables. But I am totally fed up of having the dirtiest Tesla I've ever seen on the road. Check this out. I want to try and do something about this before I go. It's going to be tricky because I don't have a lot of time. It's going to be a kind of before and after. That was before, and here's the after shot. Not bad for an hour's work. Time to get going. And the sun's come out. Oh yes. Gleaming. All packed. It's always so easy to know when I've come to the right place. So we're here today with Zav, who is very kindly plugging me in to 3-phase 11 kilowatt charging.
Yep.
Yes! With any luck it means I won't have to stop at the limited service Reading supercharger.
Yes.
It's not working properly.
Two down. I went there the other day to have a look.
Right. One of the first times ever that I've heard of a non-working supercharger. This is the second time.
It does happen, but fortunately it's very rare.
Anyway, we're hoping to have a look at some of your cables, speaking of charging today. Because you make some excellent cables for people who want to do road trips around. Can you deal with Italian plug sockets?
Oh yes. Italian, there are 2 different types of Italian,
yeah,
there are 4 different types of Swiss.
Oh God.
There are 2 different Danish.
So this is not, is a full-time job? Or?
Well, no, not really. I mean, my normal line of work, I actually work in television. I design and build TV stations. But as many people probably say, 2 years ago, I bought my Tesla, this is my car. And people often say that, once you buy a Tesla, your life changes. And so...
Yeah, you tend to do one of 2 things, don't you? Either sell accessories for Tesla or become a YouTuber.
Exactly. This actually all started off there's another chap, Carl, on the Tesla Owners Group, who had been talking about doing adapters like this, all based around the red Tesla 3-phase adapter. And he had basically got some stuff together and thought, if I start using this adapter, then from that adapter, I can then make other adapters that will cover everywhere I go. So I took a load of photographs with a chap called Thor on the forum, and we wrote a guide together on how to do this stuff. So basically what tools you need to buy, ferrules, crimping, all the kind of stuff to do it properly, and then published it on the Facebook group, and everybody said this is really good, and this is really lovely. And then I just said one evening, out of interest, how many people out there would, instead of having the faff of buying all the kit, or they don't have the time, or they're worried about doing it wrong, would they just want to spend a bit more money and buy something that's been done by somebody who knows what he's doing, that is fully tested, everything's been through a pack tester, so everything's certified, and everybody said, take my money.
Great idea. So what is the premise of the system then?
Okay, so the premise of the system, one of the prerequisites, and this is something that unfortunately at the moment I can't do, is you need the 3-phase 16 amp adapter from Tesla. So annoyingly, if you buy a car in continental Europe, they give you this. But in the UK, you get the 32 amp blue single phase. All my system works with the 16 amp 3-phase sockets. The reason why it's based on this, there are actually 2 reasons for this. It provides 3-phase, which with the UMC is the fastest way of charging your car if you have 3-phase power available, of course. And the second thing is, because it's 16 amps, there are obviously resistances in here that tell the UMC never to pull more than 16 amps. Whereas if you build a similar kind of solution but working on the 32 amp single phase adapter, the car will default to putting 32.
You have to remember to change.
You have to remember to dial it down. If you forget to do that, there's far less risk of doing something at 16 amps, which might be a little bit more, than 32 amps that will be a lot more than what the circuit is designed for. So there's a safety aspect to it as well.
Right, so let's have a look at some of these cables. What can you...
I've got adapters for just about every European country. Most of them are for domestic sockets, which unfortunately for me, varies quite a lot depending on where you go. So Italian, there are 2 different ones. There's the 10 amp one, there's also a 16 amp one.
Slightly
this,
fatter, yep.
which is slightly fatter. Just to point, all the cables are using the technical spec is what we call HO7 RNF. So it's a rubberized cable, so it doesn't perish. It stays flexible even when it's really cold. So there are lots of benefits to it. It's not your normal PVC
Which is
cable,
important, yeah.
Which is important. So these are built to last. So this is the 16 amp 3-phase Swiss.
Right.
So you've got your 3 lives, your neutral and your earth.
Yep.
So this requires 5-core cable.
Right.
And the issue is, these are what I call the compact connectors. So these connectors are fully waterproof. They twist lock together. They're certified for 17.5 amps on each pin.
Right.
And obviously I've tested these, continuously at 16 amps, and they're absolutely fine. The idea behind those two at the end, the blue, so it's a male and a female, and at the end of it, at your UMC, you do not use the red, you use the blue 32 amp. They allow you to charge at 32 amp single phase using my 3-phase extension leads.
Yes, I see.
So for people who've got a 32 amp commando socket, so maybe at work or an industrial site or at home, a lot of people actually get an electrician to install a 32 amp socket because it's cheaper than getting an EVSE.
That's exactly what I've got.
There you go.
That's where my UMC is at the moment. It's
Yes.
plugged in at home, that's why I don't have it with me.
If you're at the situation where you can't plug the car near enough so the UMC on its own will reach, then with the extension leads, you can give you another sort of 5, 10, 15 meters of reach,
Yeah.
and you can still charge at 32 amps.
Longer cables are very handy. I have a granny lead extension in the back with a sort of waterproof
Yes.
enclosure that goes around the plug.
Yep.
And you have to make sure anyone who's using an extension cable for anything always coil the whole thing. Don't
Yes.
leave it in a big coil. But if you do that, if you remember to uncoil it, it's perfectly safe.
course.
A lot of places where you're going to be using a domestic socket, it's often not
Yeah.
exactly, it's not there for cars, so it's
Yes.
not by the cars, it's
Yes.
through the top window or something.
Yes. When I first started doing these cables and adapters, I started off using just the red commando sockets, so effectively this.
Yeah.
So instead of having these small connectors, I started off using these.
Okay, yeah, I
Because then
see.
these plug straight into the red UMC adapter, and you're good to go. The problem with this, there are a couple of issues with them. A, they're quite big and clunky.
Yeah.
If you end up getting like half a dozen different adapters, and each one has one of these on the end, it starts taking up quite a bit of
Yeah,
space.
half your boot, rather than a very nice Oscar and Hamish.
Oscar and Hamish bag.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got one of these in the back with all my electric skateboard
Yeah.
charging bits in it.
They're brilliant. Started doing the design using these, and I actually marketed this as the letterbox adapter.
Right.
The reason being that is too big to fit through a letterbox.
Basically, this is all about making it possible to charge your car in places where people haven't thought about
Exactly.
whether you can charge
Exactly.
your car.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this the extension cable?
So those are the extension cables.
And obviously you'd have the UMC's cable as well, would you?
Yes. So at the end of the system, plug this into your adapter. So there are tongue and groove systems, so you can only put them in one way round. They go in together. You can then turn the collar, lock it in place, and now that won't come out.
So this end
So this
goes
would be
into the wall.
into the wall.
That end
That end.
goes into the
Red adapter.
UMC. Yeah.
then that would
and
go into
this
there.
goes in between those two should you need more length.
Exactly.
Clearly, looking at all these cables, Europe is an interesting place to try and get power if you're going to do a road trip and drive around.
Yeah. The last thing that you want is to end up having like a dozen different extension leads, all with different plugs and sockets on the end to cover your different European countries.
Yeah.
So that's why you have a short adapter that does the conversion,
Yeah.
and then you have a single extension lead that covers absolutely
Yeah.
everything.
I think this is probably the reason why Tesla don't want to supply a kit like this. A lot of the things that Tesla do, I've noticed, are trying to make EV ownership as simple as possible.
Yes.
And sometimes to the annoyance of drivers. I mean, it would be possible from a software point of view to have waypoints added, and I'm going to set up this charge for this length of time at this location, and then
True.
at this time I'm going to go on to here, so that you could literally plan an entire day's worth of driving with stops for lunch where you charge at 10 amps because all they've got is a 3-phase socket.
True.
A 3-pin
yeah,
socket. And then I'm going to stop at a campsite here where it'll be 16 phase, and we're going to have dinner there, and then we go over here, and there's a supercharger. You could plan the whole lot out.
True.
And it would tell you exactly how much power you use, and you would
Yeah.
probably arrive with almost exactly what it said.
Yeah.
The problem is if they built that into the screen, which is from a software point of view reasonably trivial,
Yeah.
new owners would be like, what?
Yeah.
I'm going to need to do a degree in order to drive to
Yeah.
the shops? No, I'm going to go get a diesel.
I mean, you're right, 'cause they already offer that functionality with the superchargers, but obviously that's simple and it's Tesla and...
Yeah, and they don't give you any control over it.
Yeah.
You know, they don't say you can go to this one or that one, and if you go to this one, you'll get here with this charge
Yes.
for this length of time.
They-
You have to do that in
They
your
plan
head.
the route, yes.
Which is why I don't use that feature at
Yeah.
all. I just go next red dot, and
Yes.
I work it out, you know, roughly in my mind as to
Yeah.
what I think. It's a shame that they can't, that they have to be that cautious, I suppose. But I understand when you're building a mass market car, which is what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
you do have to be a bit cautious with these things.
Fed into the very useful frunk.
Brilliant.
Or fruits.
Yeah, we've been using your frunk as a table. It's
Yes.
worked very well, hasn't it? Well, thank you so much for showing me your fantastic cables and
Hey.
adapters.
You're very welcome.
Now I think it's probably time to jump on some electric skateboards.
Yay! Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. I hope I have enough room in the video to put some footage of that in. Maybe like a couple of seconds or something. But anyway,
Brilliant.
thank you very much.
Thanks very much,
Cheers.
James.
Hello.
Hello, how you
Fancy
doing?
seeing you here.
How you doing,
I,
mate?
I
You
don't
can't
have the
shake
hands.
hands, so are ya?
Sorry, my camera's been plugged in at the same time. Gorgeous here.
Isn't it?
I'm a bit gutted I don't have longer.
That means
Oh,
we'll
well.
come back.
Hey! This guy's clearly a genius. I gotta head off now, guys. Sorry. Have fun.
See you later, mate.
Bye. Well, that was fantastically good fun, but unfortunately I've got to go now. Otherwise, if there's bad traffic, I'll miss Jasper pickup. But I will leave a link to Zav and his fantastic cable set in the description. Okay. Good thing that I left when I did. Guess what? Traffic on the M25. Oh, massive surprise. I'm actually getting a little bit of extra energy just because firstly I won't have time to charge when I get home, and I'll be just straight on to get Jasper. And also the other thing is I'm going to take a different route, because if I don't take a different route it's going to be like a 45-minute delay, and I'm just not down with that. So I'm going to say goodbye now for the day, because it's just basically going to be traffic and picking up Jasper. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, found it interesting. If you have, remember to like it, share it, subscribe if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you don't already, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. I don't have much of a choice.
When it comes up.
Yes,
Consider-
oh, it's beautiful. And this is after 100 miles of bug splatter as well.
Did you break your spade in getting the dirt off it?
Pretty much. There's a few ground in bits that have yet to move, but it looks a lot better.
Supping bolts?
Oh yes, otherwise I'm not going home.
You can hear it.